the House Widow's Walk or Captain's Walk on our left, you will see those all over the place. They enabled the owner of the house to see what was happening out on the reef. The first person to erect became the wreck master, sometimes supervising as many as 400 men. John Lowe Jr. made it out there first a lot, became our first self-made millionaire, and made his fortune wrecking, built that beautiful house. David, over there at David's building, there's a variation of a widow's walk or captain's walk called a mirador, which means to look at. And that building, for 63 years, was the home of one of the oldest Jewish congregations in the state of Florida, the congregation of Temple B'nai Zion. And that congregation celebrated in December their 121st anniversary. This street we are on right now is Simonton Street, named for John Simonton. He was the very first American owner of the island, and he purchased the entire place for $2,000. He bought it from Juan Pablo Salas. Salas had gotten it in exchange for military services to the courts of Spain. Simonton was an excellent landlord who spent a lot of time in Washington petitioning to have Key West named the Wrecking Court, also as an official port of entry. That was vital to our growth as a seaport. He later sold about 3/4 of the island to John Fleming, John Whitehead, and Barton Green. You'll see their names on downtown streets. This building on our right was built in 1931 of fossilized Keys limestone. It's also known as Miami Oolite. And on our left, with all the brown trim, is Captain Cedar. And that is the building where Ernest Hemingway stayed when he came to the island for the first time back in 1928. Here on our left, another one of those goofy shaving brush trees. And ahead of us and on the right is one of the very few survivors of the worst fire that we ever experienced on the island. That was in 1886. This whole area was destroyed. This building made it through the fire because of its brick construction. At the time of the fire, it was a tobacco warehouse that belonged to the William Curry family, and they kept bonded Cuban tobacco in it. Everything else at this end of the island burned flat. It was all made of wood, and the only fire truck that the city owned was in New York being repaired. They dynamited buildings in the path of the fire. One guy blew up his own house. Over here on our right, the building with the green tree. 1903, this was the site of a Coca-Cola bottling company. 1903, 37 years before we ever had running water on the island, we had Coca-Cola. It goes better with rum. Well, it does. When was the last time you heard anybody order rum and water? We're turning on to Front Street here. This was our main street when our focus was toward our harbor. Ahead of us and on the right is Pirate Soul Museum, and we are getting ready to bump our way into our break spot. Give you a chance to stretch your legs, rest your ears, and powder your noses. Inside the depot, great things being great. You can bring it all back to the train to enjoy. We're going to be here for a little less than 10 minutes. We're waiting for Shannon to kind of pull out there. And I'm going to ask you to remain seated, of course, until I come to a complete safe stop. But while we're waiting for Shannon to pull out here, what this is going to give us an opportunity to do is I want you to look around and figure out where you're seated. Because I do want you to take your original seats when reboarding, as that does prevent a lot of confusion.